Alright, so the last time we began looking at factorization, and we did factorization using the distributive law and the difference of two square. Now today we will be moving on to two other types of factorization. The first type that we look at is the factorization by grouping. Now let's get straight into this example. Let's not waste any time. We have the expression here, px plus py plus qx plus qy. And instruction says to factorize this here. Now when we talk about factorization by grouping, the most important thing that you need to have is four terms. You need to have four terms. 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. And after you have these four terms, all you do is you pair them off. You put them into pairs, right? After you're finished putting them in pairs, you do like what we did the last time. You factorize both of the brackets by the distribution method. Good, and what do we do with the distribution method? We look among the two terms and see what is common and what we can factor out. And if you look at this term and this term, you see that p is common, so we can factor out the p. And this will become p, and x plus y will be left after we finish factoring out p from these two terms. And then we go plus, then we go to the second bracket. What is common? Once again, you see q is common, so we factor out the q, and this will be q, and we're left with x plus y. Good. Alright, so after you've finished putting them in brackets and factoring out what is common between the brackets, you then, if you look at these two brackets are the same. Good. That is very important. You want to ensure that these two brackets are the same when using the factorization by grouping method. Good. As long as those two brackets are the same, this is what we do. We put the terms that are outside the bracket into one bracket. P plus Q. We put that into one bracket, and we put back one in this bracket at the bottom here. X plus Y. And that is how you factorize this expression at the top here. And if you expand it, you will get back at the top here. Alright, so let's look at another quick example. The instruction says factorize. Factorize completely. So once again, we see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So we pair them off, firstly of course. And then we just factorize the two brackets. Let's look at the first bracket. What is common here? We see these two terms, they have a common factor of x. X is the only common factor. So we factor out the x, and we're now left with, and divide x by this here, you will get x plus, and you factor out x, or divide x by this term, you will left back with 3. Then you go to the second bracket, and what is common? Let's see, we have numbers, so 2 is a common factor between these two terms. So we factor out the 2, and we factor out the 2, this will be left with x plus 6 divided by 2 will give you 3. To see if you're correct, you just distribute the 2 to see if you'll get back what is at the top here. 2 times x will give you 2x, 2 times 3 will give you 6. Good. And once again, if you look at the two brackets, they are the same. So we've done the factorization correct. So we put the terms outside the bracket, we put them in the bracket, and we just put back one of these brackets here. And that is how you factorize, right? Alright, so just now we learned what we do when we have 4 terms that we want to factorize it. But what will we do if we have 3 terms? Now, if we have 3 terms, that most likely means we will have something that we call a quadratic expression. Alright? So that is the next thing we're looking at. Factorizing quadratic expression. Now the general form, the way that a quadratic expression will look is just like what I have here. Ax squared plus bx plus c. Where a will be a number, b will be a number, and c will be the constant, a number by itself. And these two letters can either, this can either be a y squared, and if this is y, this will also be y. But this is the general form. This is what a quadratic will look like. Ax squared plus bx plus c. Now how can we go ahead and factorize that? Now let's go into an example. We have the term there, x squared plus 7x plus 12. And if you look at this here, this is in the general form. X squared, we have a number in front of x. We know that number in front of x is 1. Plus bx, which will be 7x, plus 12, which will be c. Now, if we want to factorize an expression like this, we can use something that we call the AC method. I ain't talking about the AC, that what you use to cool down. Now with the AC method, let me just bring this down a bit. Yeah. Now with the AC method, we want to kind of transform this expression and express it using 4 terms like what we had just now. So we can use something that we call the AC method. Now with the AC method, you take the number that is in the place of a, whatever number is in front of this x squared, you take that number and you multiply it by c. In this case, c will be 12. So this will be, let's look at a. What is a? A will be 1, right? 1 multiplied by c, which is 12. You tally that. 1 times 12 is 12. Now that's what you just found there. That is the AC. Now what we are trying to do, we are trying to find 2 numbers that we can replace this 7x with so that we can get the 4 terms. That is why we use the AC method. So a times c, that is the first thing, you find AC. Now what we want to do, we want to find 2 numbers that when we multiply these 2 numbers, we must get this. But when we add those 2 same numbers, we must get b, which is 7. So let's see what 2 numbers we can use. Let's try 1 plus 12. 1 plus 12, that will give you 13. So we did not get the 7. Let's try another pair. 3 times 4. 3 times 4, we will get the 12. Now remember, when we add these 2 numbers, we must get back this 7 here. So 3 plus 4, that will give you 7. So these are the 2 numbers that we will be using, 3 and 4. Alright? So let's replace 7x with 3 and 4. So the new expression that we will have will be x squared plus this here 3x, and we gotta put back the x, right? Plus whatever letter was in front of b, you put back that letter here, plus 4x plus 12. So these 2 here replace this, and then we do like what we did just now. We pair them off, and then we factorize using the distributive law. And what is common here? X will be common. So when you factor out x, we're left with x plus 3. And you go to the second bracket. What is common here? 4. When you factor out 4, you'll be left with x plus 3. You see, just like in the example before, we have the 2 brackets that look alike, and that is very important. So what we do, we put the 2 numbers outside the bracket into one bracket, x plus 4, and we bring back one of the brackets at the bottom here, x plus 3. Alright? And that is how we factorize a quadratic using the AC method. Let me just briefly go through it once again. First thing, we have to know what are the letters, right? We have to know what is A, what is B, and what is C. And A will be the number that is in front, x squared. B will be the number that is in front, x. And C will be the number by itself. So if you want to use the AC method, we just multiply A times C, which will give you 12. And after you finish multiplying that, we want to find 2 pairs of numbers. That when we multiply those 2 numbers, we must get this 12. But when we add them, we must get 7. I think that will be the hardest part of this AC method. So after you finish doing trial and error to find the 2 numbers, we then substitute the 2 numbers for this here. Alright, so in this case we found 3 and 4, so we just replace 7x with 3x plus 4x. And then we just factor out like what we did the last time. Alright? Ciao.